Good afternoon. Welcome to Context in Cinema. My name is Mario Prado, your host, and today I have a very special guest. We're actually going to be covering three generations as far as information in this particular story. My guest today is a producer, writer, director. His name is Jaime D. Gonzalez, and you'll be seeing his name along the bottom because I want to make sure we get it spelled properly. Now, when I was asked to review this film, you have to understand that I come from, how should I say, the older generation. And yet I have learned that a lot of times, even as an older individual, and if I see something fresh or different, it is intriguing because it means that we're thinking. And so what I'm looking at today is a film that's called Voltaic Blood.
Voltaic.
Voltaic.
Yes, sir.
Okay. You know what I liked about that, getting right into it, Jaime, is that you were even giving us the definition. Okay,
Yeah, on the
of that.
screen.
And I love that. And to me, in this particular kind of story, for those of you that are not familiar, and I'm going to let Jaime kind of explain this, cyberpunk. Where did that come from? How did that happen? When you were doing your research, where did that happen? How did that come
Like, how did that happen?
Yes.
As a genre or
No,
for
as a
me?
genre, and then from there, we're going to ask you how you structured your story within that genre. So where did that genre come from?
So it's a subgenre of sci-fi, so it kind of developed from, all the classic sci-fi that started brewing Asimov and, all these great writers in the early 20th century working on sci-fi. It kind of grew from that.
Oh, really?
And, Asimov working with androids and computers, and then it kind of delved into more of the darker side of technology.
Correct.
With Philip K. Dick
Mm-hmm.
and William Gibson are known as the godfathers of cyberpunk.
Now, those are Americans.
Yes,
I think they
believe
are.
so.
You know what? The little research that I did, I think they are. As a matter of fact, from what I understand, Jaime, if I'm not mistaken, and for those of you who are how should I say, what do they call it when they do the research? Or what are those people called? They qualify it or. From what I understand and what little research that I had a chance to do before our interview is that this cyber punk is an original from America. And then what happened was based on what research I've done, is that it really got a kickstart here, and then it affected
Yes.
Europe and Japan.
Yes.
And so here we are, okay, telling a story, okay, that is really in essence an American phenomenon, all right, in that respect. Now, the reason I said in my earlier opening, three generations, I remember cyberpunk as a kid. You are in the middle generation, and you've taken that concept and made something from it. So I'm also speaking to our younger generation that have never been influenced as much by the cyberpunk phenomenon. How did you come about the storyline to take place in a cyberpunk world? How did that happen? Was that something that...
Well, I think we are drawn, we're all individuals that are certainly drawn to certain genres. We don't really make like a conscious decision.
That's true.
At first,
Very true.
we're just drawn to action or romance or noir, cyberpunk. I wanted to touch on noir because also you said it started in America.
Correct.
And it really is worthy to mention that the noir aspect of
Absolutely.
it, because that's an American also as well that grew in America.
Correct.
And really what sci-fi and noir kind of mutated as well.
Exactly.
It became cyberpunk,
Yeah.
where you get to explore kind of like the seedy underbelly in a sci-fi world.
Correct.
Where you have an individual who's kind of an anti-hero working against the system and things like that. So I think those kind of stories really affect me or really I'm drawn to of an individual kind of working against the system
Mhm.
and like finding hope and finding a way forward in the middle of all that opposition and darkness.
Well, okay, so let's take that. Let's take
Uh-huh.
that. So this is a story that, let's put it this way, for those who are filmmakers and those who are the audience, can you, Jaime, give us the log line? What would be the log line? Now, for those of you that are not in my side of the camera, in terms of filmmaking, a log line is a short description, generally about 2 or 3 sentences, that really describe the general overview of the particular story. It doesn't go into the nuances. It's just supposed to be a kind of a template in which we kind of form things in. So, can you give me, for your particular film, what is the log line for this?
Well, in a kind of retro-futuristic world, you have Gabriel Bathory, who's fighting against his vampire nature and his vampire allegiances to kind of protect his last heir and find a way of redemption through that.
Oh, that's excellent.
That's
And then so you've interweaved not only the whole vampire. Now vampires have been around in
Yes.
storytelling for a long, long time. Okay, and
Yes.
for any of you history people out there, certainly the vampires really they started in Europe though. That part did start in Europe, and it's
Well,
or
the
does every
Western,
culture
the
have
Western kind of vampire we know today, but in a lot of cultures, actually around the world, it's kind of an international phenomena where
Correct.
every culture has some kind of demonic spirit or some kind of entity that drains blood,
Okay.
and
Right.
that comes out at night, and it's related to a lot of our fears, as humans.
Correct.
So it is kind of the Western vampire that we know does come from Eastern Europe,
Correct.
which is the most popular, and in terms of filmmaking,
Sure.
also the most widespread, you could say,
That's right.
or portrayed.
Right.
But there are a lot of international legends and tales that are vampiric or in nature.
You know what? And now that you brought that up, what I did like is when I watched the film, I did like the way you interweaved it into that particular genre, the steampunk world. Now, the steampunk world.
Cyberpunk.
I'm sorry, cyberpunk.
Because those are
correct.
different. Those are different.
Very, very different. Absolutely. Cyberpunk. Absolutely. So, in a case like that, how did this story grow? Now, we already understand that you were very much attracted to cyberpunk, but how did you create the situation or the storyline? How did that come about?
Well, it came about, the way I see it is kind of God gives you a little seed, like a little idea,
Correct.
and then you kind of start watering it, and it starts growing everywhere.
Wow.
It's sometimes out of your control and
Right.
doing things that you didn't expect. So, but that kind of first idea was, I guess, we experience stories, we experience art, and stories, and somehow we kind of synthesize
That's right.
those things,
Sure.
and that's what makes us kind of, as individual and storytellers or creatives, what we love kind of comes out in a new kind of form. And I think for me, it was kind of like the vintage or the retro, shows. Like
Oh.
Miami Vice and Knight Rider and things like that.
Absolutely. I didn't think about that. Very good.
Yeah, and kind of
So there were
mutating.
influences.
Sure, yeah.
They gave you kind of like these walls in which you could create something in. Okay. So now has this idea been, I guess, fermenting in you for a number of years, or how did it actually
Yeah.
when was the first time you actually put it down on paper?
Well, yes, like I was saying, like I think this little seed was having this kind of Blade Runner type character
Okay.
in a cyberpunk world, and and having kind of like a vampire mentor that teaches him to be a vampire hunter per se.
Interesting.
And so that was kind of like the seed.
Yes.
You know,
Yes.
how does what does a vampire hunter look like in a cyberpunk world using technology and things like that? And that was kind of like the beginning that kind of started off the spark.
I love that. That is so cool.
Now, we're
So,
not there yet,
no,
right?
no.
But it is the origins of the story.
So now let me just to make sure that the audience that's actually watching this program, this is actually the I guess you could say the first of a series that you hope to do. Is that correct?
Correct.
So this is the baseline. This is the foundation from which your story will grow and expand. And so you'll be bringing in new characters, and the challenges are there, and the whole thing. Now, in the cyberpunk world, in terms of that genre, seems to be obviously a conflict with the powers that be, okay, and the wishes of the individual, okay, the struggle, if you will. Terms like defiance, heroes, mentors play an important role, okay.
And that's where the punk comes into play.
Very interesting. Okay. Now, when you were writing it, how long did it take you to write this story?
Well, the script, I believe it was maybe 6 months. You know, a little bit more if you count the brainstorming.
Oh, gosh, yeah. No.
Yeah, maybe 6 months. I went through the middle section, you know, that now is in the film, is a virtual digital world kind of section.
Yeah, I like that.
Before it was more of a detective crime scene kind of section. So it did mutate, and I did change some of the building blocks.
Right.
You know, all scripts go through different changes and stages. But yeah, I think it took about 6 months or so to get it where it is now, where it was before we shot.
Sure.
The film.
Now, in that case, while you were writing it, were you at that time looking for talent, or did you have certain people in mind, or did you draw the characters first and then try to find the talent that would fit the characters? How did that work? Because I know that in our industry, we may know someone, have had experience with certain people, and we kind of identify them and use them as, I don't like using this word, but what is the term? They call it as a template, you know, for the characters' physical.
Yeah, that's a great question, and it's always like the independent kind of independent filmmaking struggle. I guess you have to kind of balance the creative, fresh ideas with the resources that you have available.
Very good.
And you have to combine those together so that you still are kind of faithful to your idea, but also you utilize your resources as much as possible, whether it's actors, locations,
etc.
So yeah, it's always a kind of dance to balance those. I would say when I start, I mainly just focus on the story and the idea and the characters. And over time, you know, as I'm writing, I started getting ideas, you know, this would be a good cast. This would, you know, these actors that I know would be a good cast. But for these other ones, like, I don't know anybody that could play those, so I'm going to have to really
do some casting and do some working. Now, when you did the filming, was it here in Murrieta, or did you actually go on location? What areas did you know? Because I saw some locations that obviously reminded me of certain places, you know, in California and so on and so forth. But at the same token, because of what you were saying, balancing your budget based on resources and so on and so forth, was much of it shot here in this area?
It was shot, so we had it was mainly shot in 2 weeks, but we had like 2 or 3 pickup days.
Sure, that makes sense.
But 1 week we focused in LA, and we had an alley that was a private alley.
Oh, very good.
That we rented. and also a rooftop that was pretty close to that location. So we did a lot of shots in the alley because the beginning sequence and the ending is all in that same alley, and then also the rooftop sequence where you see a lot of people on the rooftop. We rented that in LA, and those probably were the most of the budget went to those locations.
Yeah, I can see that. I can see that. But now, how did you find those locations? Did you hire a service, or did you actually go out and scout? Did you knock
I
on
used
doors?
a web service.
Was there a web service that you used?
Yeah, I forget what the name is called of that service, but they have a lot of locations. People post their locations there and how much to rent it for,
Correct.
so you can go and browse different locations available.
This is again for my generation. We never really had that where you could just literally go online, look at them, and wow. I mean, I think that really changes the dynamics in terms of time and locations, and then asking all the tough questions, parking, power, lighting, and all those kind of deals that you ask for locations. But it'd be interesting. I think maybe what we'll do is in post, if you do remember that particular company, I would love to put that out, because I know that there is a lot of viewers here that are filmmakers and that they do enjoy seeing the backstory of something. So if we can get that, I'd love to put that and post it on my site.
Yeah, we'll put it here on the
credits. And yeah, absolutely. No, because I think one of the things too that I wish those services would do, because if they would shoot it morning, noon, and night, same location, would, I think, help someone like yourself or anyone that's looking for a location that may find it but says, wow, would this be good during the daytime, would be good in mid-afternoon, would be good at night. So that's something for those of you who are building or servicing or actually own that kind of, how should I say, location services. It would be nice if they did show morning, noon, and night, okay, or morning, noon, and night, because something like that I think would be a value. So, you know what? On that note, let's take a break for a second.
Okay.
Because I really think that we're getting off to a doggone good start.
Yes.
And I'm going to rearrange some of my questions because I like the way we're going. And on that note, let's cut for a moment. And thank you again for staying tuned to Context and Cinema.